The next topic is phonological and surface dyslexia. Phonological dyslexia. Now this term refers to symptoms and the kind of pattern which involves difficulty with decoding and connecting sounds to symbols. Now this phonological dyslexia is extreme difficulty in reading, and people suffering from this kind of dyslexia have a problem to recognize a word in terms of matching it. They can recognize or read a word as a whole, or you can say following a whole word method, but they find it difficult and sometimes they cannot sound these words out. Then we have surface dyslexia. Now it is also a type of reading disorder, and people suffering from this type of impairment have difficulty. They cannot recognize a word at all and cannot retrieve its pronunciation from the memory. So this deals with or refers to the difficulty in the lexical access of word meaning. They cannot recognize a word as a whole and also face a lot of difficulty in terms of retrieving its pronunciation. And phonological, people cannot sound the words out, or this kind of impairment, which is phonological impairment, is basically the ability to manipulate the basic sounds of the language. So now we will look at these two types of dyslexia in detail. So first look at the surface dyslexia. Patients with surface dyslexia of disorder cannot recognize a word as a whole due to the damage of the left parietal or temporal lobe. So this happens because some damage is done or some injury is done in the left parietal or temporal lobe of brain. Individuals with surface dyslexia are unable to recognize a word as a whole and retrieve its pronunciation from memory. Rather, individuals with surface dyslexia rely on pronunciation rules. Thus, patients with this particular type of reading disorder read non-words fluently, like yacht, but struggle with words that defy pronunciation rules, that is, exception words. For example, a patient with surface dyslexia can correctly read regular words like mint, but will err or make error when presented a word that disobeys typical pronunciation rules like pin. Often semantic knowledge is preserved in individuals with surface dyslexia. Then we have phonological disorder. Individuals with that form of dyslexia typically have difficulty sounding out unfamiliar words and do poorly on tests of non-word reading. Students can't break down individual sounds of language, which is the phonemic awareness, and match them with written symbols. This makes it difficult to sound out, or you can say decode words. They cannot decode words. Most kind, or you would see the situation in such, kids with reading issues have some degree of phonological dyslexia. It's also sometimes referred to as dysphonetic dyslexia. The studies show that this kind of dyslexia also has the implication in lexical pathway, which is the process whereby a skilled reader can recognize non-words by sight alone. And non-lexical pathway is the process whereby a skilled reader can sound out a written word by identifying different constituent parts such as letter, phonemes, and graphemes. that is also known as or referred to the dual route theory, which deals with the surface dyslexia and proposes lexical pathway. To sum up, surface dyslexia makes hard to remember whole words by sight, and phonological dyslexia is a disorder of reading characterized by impairment in non-word reading ability.